They didn't have an MVP. They didn't have a superstar. They didn't have anyone's respect. The media wrote them off. The fans barely noticed them. The odds? Practically impossible. But what they did have was something no box score could ever measure. They had grit. They had unity. They had a defense that suffocated even the brightest offensive stars. They had a chip on their shoulder the size of the league itself, and a burning fire that refused to be ignored. This is not just a story about a championship. This is a story about 5 men who became one machine, about a team that didn't care about headlines. They cared about stops, about a team that didn't chase fame. They chased respect. This is the 2004 Detroit Pistons, the team that walked into the NBA Finals as forgotten men and walked out as legends. The team that humiliated the Hollywood Lakers, Shaq, Kobe, Malone, Peyton, and exposed the cracks in a so-called super team with nothing but sheer will and relentless defense. No one expected them to win. Not in Game 1, not in Game 2, not ever. But they did more than win. They dominated. They rewrote the narrative. They reminded the world that basketball is, and always has been, a team game. Get ready to witness the biggest underdog story in NBA history. Because this isn't just about basketball. It's about belief. It's about brotherhood. It's about proving the world wrong. Together, in the world of professional basketball, there are names that echo through time. Names like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Legends who redefined what it meant to be a star. For decades, the league has been dominated by these larger-than-life figures, and the spotlight shined on those who could dazzle with their individual brilliance. The game became about heroes, about athletes who could single-handedly win games, lift teams, and carry entire franchises to greatness. But in 2004, something happened that no one saw coming. In a time when basketball was almost synonymous with superstars, a team of underdogs, a team with no flashy names, no MVP candidates, and no top 10 players, stood tall and did the impossible. The Detroit Pistons, a team written off as nothing more than an afterthought in a league ruled by kings, did not follow the script. They weren't built on the shoulders of individual brilliance or fame. No, the Pistons were a team of warriors, not stars. They didn't need a one-man show. They didn't need highlight reel dunks or buzzer-beating three-pointers. What they had was discipline, resilience, and an identity forged in the crucible of defense, teamwork, and an unshakable belief that they were more than the sum of their parts. In a season where the Los Angeles Lakers boast a roster featuring 3 of the biggest names in NBA history, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Karl Malone, the Pistons were overlooked. They were supposed to be a footnote in the history of this NBA season, a mere pit stop before the Lakers' inevitable coronation. But the Pistons didn't play that game. They didn't care for the hype. They didn't care for the glamour. They weren't trying to beat the Lakers on a superstar level. They were going to beat them as a team. And when the dust settled and confetti fell, it wasn't the Lakers with their star-studded lineup who were standing tall. It was the Detroit Pistons, a team with no one on the All-Star team, no MVP, no player in the league's top 10. Yet they did what many thought impossible. They defeated one of the most talented rosters ever assembled in the NBA. So, today, we're going to break down how a team of nobodies managed to do the unthinkable, how they humbled the Lakers, dismantled the super team, and made their mark on NBA history forever. This is the story of the 2004 Detroit Pistons, a team built on grit, heart, and an unrelenting defense. And as we dive into this unforgettable journey, you'll see why this wasn't just a victory. It was a rebirth of basketball's true spirit, the bad boys in Detroit's legacy. To understand the 2004 Pistons, we need to go back to the 80s, when the franchise was already shaking status quo with the bad boys, a team as talented as they were controversial, led by Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer. They won 2 titles, 1989 and 1990, with an aggressive defensive style that annoyed the entire NBA. But the 90s were dark times. Grant Hill shined, but injuries kept him from bringing Detroit back to the top. The turnaround came with Joe Dumars, a bad boys legend who took over as an executive in 2000 and began assembling a team in his own image, tough, defensive, and unafraid to challenge the favorites. To understand the 2004 Pistons, We need to look back at the franchise's history, particularly the 1980s, when they were already shaking the status quo with the Bad Boys. Led by Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer, the Bad Boys were as talented as they were controversial, known for their aggressive style that annoyed the entire NBA. They won 2 championships in 1989 and 1990, with a defensive approach that became their trademark. Their physical game, relentless defense, and refusal to back down from anyone made them one of the most feared teams of that era. However, the 1990s were difficult years for Detroit. Grant Hill, one of the league's brightest stars, shined with his immense talent. But injuries kept him from leading the Pistons back to the top. During this tough period, the team lost its identity, and it seemed like the days of the Bad Boys were far behind. The turnaround came in 2000 when Joe Dumars, a former Bad Boys legend, took over as the team's executive. Dumars began assembling a team in his own image, tough, defensive-minded, and unafraid to challenge the league's heavyweights. His vision was clear. To compete with the best, they needed to build a team that could stand out through collective effort and unyielding defense. While the NBA was embracing an era of offensive fireworks, the Pistons embraced a more old-school approach, prioritizing defense and team play above all. The 2004 Pistons' journey to the title was nothing short of extraordinary, and the path they took to the playoffs was a testament to their grit and resilience. From the start of the postseason, it was clear that this team was not going to go down easily. In the first round, the Pistons faced the Milwaukee Bucks, and while it wasn't the most challenging series, they still sent a message by winning 4-1. Nothing flashy, but it was an early signal of the dominance that was to come. The second round was a different story, a rematch against the New Jersey Nets, who had swept the Pistons the previous year. This time, the series was a much tighter affair, and Game 5 became an instant classic. The Pistons, under the leadership of Chauncey Billups, won in a dramatic triple overtime thriller, with Billups sinking a miraculous shot to seal the victory. It was moments like these that showcased the team's never-say-die attitude. The Eastern Conference Finals pitted Detroit against the Indiana Pacers. This series was a defensive slugfest where neither team even reached 100 points in any of the games. The defining moment came in Game 2, when Tayshaun Prince made a jaw-dropping block on Reggie Miller, a play that became a symbol of the Pistons' resilience and defensive prowess. That block wasn't just a stop. It was a declaration that this team was built on defense, and nothing was going to get past them. Detroit won the series 4-2, earning their spot in the NBA Finals. And then, the stage was set for a historic battle in the NBA Finals, where the Pistons faced the mighty Los Angeles Lakers, a team stacked with Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton. On paper, it was a David versus Goliath matchup. The Lakers were a powerhouse of individual talent, a team that seemed unbeatable. But the Pistons had a plan, a calculated, team-first approach that would expose the cracks in the Lakers' armor. Detroit's strategy was simple yet effective. They allowed Shaquille O'Neal to do his thing. He shot an impressive 63%. But they neutralized Kobe Bryant by forcing him into tough shots, holding him to just 38% shooting. They also exploited the fragile egos within the Lakers' ranks. By the time the finals rolled around, Kobe and Shaq's feud had become public knowledge, and the Pistons fed into that division, playing mind games that undermined the Lakers' cohesion. Where the Lakers relied on individual brilliance, the Pistons played as a team, moving the ball with precision and cohesion. This was basketball as a collective effort, not one dependent on superstars. In Game 1, the Pistons shocked the basketball world by winning in Los Angeles by 12 points. In Game 3, they delivered a 20-point blowout in Detroit, further asserting their dominance. But the true climax came in Game 5, the grand finale. Ben Wallace dominated Shaq in the paint, neutralizing the Lakers' main force. Chauncey Billups was named Finals MVP after his stellar performance, and the Pistons clinched the title with a 13-point victory, winning the series 4-1. It was a victory not just for the Pistons, but for the entire underdog mentality in sports. This was a team that had no MVP, no superstar, just heart, defense, and unity, and it was more than enough to topple one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The Pistons' victory in the 2004 NBA Finals sent shockwaves through the entire league. It wasn't just a championship win. It was a complete disruption of the established order, a bold statement that a team built on defense, teamwork, and grit could overcome the star power that had defined the NBA for decades. In the aftermath of the Pistons' triumph, the ripple effects were felt almost immediately. Shaquille O'Neal, who had been a dominant force of the Lakers and a key part of their title hopes, left for the Miami Heat the following year. This move marked the end of the Lakers' era of dominance, as Shaq's departure sent the team into a period of transition. It also changed the dynamics of the league, as the Heat now had one of the most dominant centers in history, and the Lakers were forced to shift their strategy. For Kobe Bryant, the loss of the Pistons was a crushing blow to his legacy. Despite being one of the most skilled players to ever play the game, the defeat exposed the cracks in the Lakers' team-oriented approach, and Kobe was left alone to carry the burden. Over the next few years, Kobe would go through a period of rebuilding, not just on the court, but in terms of his image. The loss of the Pistons forced him to evolve as a player and as a leader, setting the stage for the next phase of his career, one in which he would go on to win multiple championships and solidify his place as one of the greatest players in NBA history. Perhaps one of the most significant changes brought on by the Pistons championship was the league's response to their style of play. The NBA, which had been trending towards more offense-oriented, high-scoring games, decided to implement rule changes in the following years. One of the most impactful changes was a ban on hand-checking, a defensive tactic that allowed defenders to use their hands to impede the offensive player's movement. The Pistons' stifling defense had relied heavily on hand-checking, and the NBA's decision to penalize teams that used this strategy was seen as a direct response to Detroit's dominance. The league's shift towards more freedom of movement for offensive players was an attempt to make the game more exciting and showcase more individual skill, but it also made it harder for teams like the Pistons to thrive in the same way. But the legacy of the 2004 Pistons goes far beyond rule changes or individual player moves. The team proved something that hadn't been seen in the NBA for years, that a championship could be won without a clear superstar. In an era defined by players like Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, and Tim Duncan, who were all seen as the faces of their franchises, the Pistons showed that the collective effort of a team, even one without a single top 10 player, could win the biggest prize in basketball. This was a paradigm shift in how teams thought about building a championship contender. It was a reminder that in basketball, just like in any other sport, teamwork, strategy, and defense can be just as important as individual talent. Since that 2004 victory, no team has been able to replicate the Pistons' formula, a team-oriented, defensive powerhouse that defeated superstars in their prime. The NBA has seen plenty of incredible teams, but none have managed to capture a championship without the guiding presence of an MVP-caliber player. The Pistons' achievement remains one of the most impressive and unique championship runs in NBA history, and it serves as a reminder of what's possible when a group of players comes together and buys into a collective vision. The 2004 Detroit Pistons weren't just a team. They were a living testament to the power of chemistry, sacrifice, and the undeniable strength of collective over individual glory. While the NBA had, by then, become a league dominated by superstar players and high-profile, money-driven super teams, the Pistons showed us something profoundly different. They demonstrated that basketball is, at its core, still a game of 5 players versus 5, and sometimes the most unexpected teams can rise above the noise and defy all odds. In an era where stars like Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, and LeBron James dominated the spotlight, the Pistons didn't rely on one player to carry them through. Instead, they thrived because every member of the team played their role to perfection. Chauncey Billups, the unheralded point guard, provided the leadership and clutch shots. Ben Wallace, the Big Ben defensive juggernaut, gave everything on the floor, securing rebounds and shutting down some of the league's best players. Richard Hamilton, with his relentless movement and mid-range shooting, played the perfect sidekick to Billups. Tayshaun Prince, the lanky yet fierce defender, made plays that would be remembered for generations. And of course, Rasheed Wallace, the fiery and versatile forward, added the final piece that turned them from a strong defensive squad into an impenetrable force. Their victory over the Los Angeles Lakers, a team with superstars at every position, wasn't just a technical win. It was a statement. It was a message to the rest of the league. Basketball at its highest level is still a team game. The Pistons proved that when every player commits to the collective, when every pass, every screen, every defensive stop is a product of unyielding sacrifice and focus, the results can be extraordinary. The Lakers, with their superstar roster of Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton, were meant to be unbeatable. Yet, the Pistons, without a single top 10 player, dismantled them with an unwavering belief in one another, a strategy rooted in defense, and the resilience to never give in. In today's NBA, where super teams and star power dominate headlines, the legacy of the 2004 Pistons resonates more than ever, as players like Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and Giannis Antetokounmpo make their mark in the league. It's easy to get lost in the idea that one or two dominant players can carry a team to a championship. The Pistons' triumph reminds us, however, that greatness comes in many forms. It's not just about the names on the back of jerseys. It's about the unity of purpose, the shared commitment to a collective vision, and the ability to sacrifice personal glory for the greater good of the team. The Pistons were not just a basketball team. They were a perfect example of how far trust, teamwork, and chemistry can take you. As we reflect on their remarkable achievement, the question arises, what current team could pull off a similar feat today? Which roster, currently built around star players, might surprise us by embracing the Pistons' blueprint of defense, sacrifice, and collective effort over individual accolades? Could a team like the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler lead a squad to another championship with similar underdog mentality? Or could a team like the Denver Nuggets, with their balanced roster and focus on team chemistry, pull off something just as improbable? The 2004 Pistons are a reminder that while the game of basketball has changed in many ways, the most enduring truth remains. When a group of players comes together with one common purpose and leaves egos at the door, anything is possible. And maybe, just maybe, in the near future, we will see another team rise up, defy expectations, and remind us that in basketball, it's not always about the stars. It's about the strength of the team. If you enjoyed this incredible journey back to the heart-pounding 2004 NBA Finals, where the underdogs rose to claim their place in history, hit that like button with all the enthusiasm you've got. Don't be shy. Share your favorite moment from that unforgettable series in the comments below. Was it Tayshaun Prince's legendary block on Reggie Miller or Chauncey Billups' clutch performance in the finals? Let us know what made you stand up and cheer. And hey, don't just keep this basketball history gem to yourself. Share with a friend who loved the game, whether they're a hardcore fan or someone just starting to appreciate the beauty of a well-played team sport. The more, the merrier, right? Before you head off, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, so you're always first to know when we drop the next mind-blowing breakdown of NBA history. Here on this channel, it's not just about celebrating the household names. We dive deep into the stories of forgotten heroes, the unsung legends who made unforgettable moments. We'll be back with more exciting stories, in-depth analysis, and a whole lot of basketball love. See you next time. Keep hooping, keep dreaming, and remember, it's not always about the stars. Sometimes it's about the team.